Hi there, my name's Ben, and we're going to see if another concept is overrated today. Today, the question is originality overrated? Now, before I hop in to my direct answer to it, my hot take anyway, I think that it's a very, very relevant question, especially today. There are more people today that are living, and of course, humans tend to exhibit this really weird paradox where we want to be inside of this herd because we feel safe, but then we also want to stand out, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because if you're to stand out from the herd, then that means you're technically not a part of it. And so I don't necessarily know why humans have a tendency to do that. Either be a part of the herd or don't be. Like it is what it is. Now, is originality overrated? That's a very, very, some would call it a loaded question. I like to prefer to think of it as an interesting one, and one that is, of course, deserving of being answered. Now, I recently read this book called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. And it had some great quotes in there. Or rather, some quotes that didn't make it in there, which a couple of which I will read for you now. One of them is attributed to a gentleman by the name of Josh Billings. And he says, about the most originality that any writer can hope to achieve honestly is to steal with good judgment. Now, I love that quote. I love it because it really, really shows how, well, it encapsulates my thoughts perfectly. I don't think there is such a thing as originality to begin with. Everything that you've thought of has already been thought of before. Every word that you've spoken has already been spoken before. Even every sentence that you've spoken has already been spoken before. Or if not, I'm pretty sure there is some sort of weird, funky website that has literally, jumbled every single letter combination, every single sentence combination, word combination together. So then that way, it's literally on paper. But that's beside the point. More on that later. The other quote that's attributed to James Polchin goes like so. What we call originality relies on a good deal of imitation and even a bit of theft. So again, both of those ones have a tendency to overlap because again, they're seeing, okay, like there is no such thing as originality. And I have a tendency to agree. I agree because nothing can be original if you think about the context of all the humans that came and went. What makes an idea original or something like that, or let's say an original idea that actually sticks and makes it into the mainstream, is it has to pop up at the right place in the right time. Some people aren't ready for it. I mean, there's an anecdote, not verified, of course, but that the Romans had a rudimentary form of steam power. Think about it, the steam power in a pre-industrial society. Why didn't they use it to start, to help power machinery or do anything else? The anecdote goes, why would we do that? We have slaves to do it. Which goes to show, again, their mindset going into that. It's not until, according to the anecdote, many, many years later that we rediscovered steam power and now we have locomotives and all of that jazz. I mean, use steam to heat homes and for a lot of other things. But going back to the whole originality piece, I don't think there's such a thing as originality. But for this, for the context of this, let's say that it does, that originality does exist, right? Is it overrated? 110% yes. Originality is overrated because as a concept, being original itself is not overrated. It's actually really hard to come up with a brand new idea yourself that you didn't have to steal or imitate or whatever. Although originality is essentially like a remix or a combination of a bunch of different things, and which is passed off as a brand, or I shouldn't say passed off as a brand new product, which is made into a brand new product. So yes, technically it's original, but I think what a lot of people do is that they confuse originality with authenticity, or they try to combine the two. And we'll probably do another thing on the side if authenticity is overrated, but that's for another video. Now, I think that although I do not like the current concept of originality, and they're saying, "Oh, just be different," and that's original, and all of that. I don't agree with that at all. I think when we understand the game, that originality is something much more complex than we actually think, that we actually understand. It's not, an inspiration, a flash of lightning, a bolt from the blue. It's not that at all. If anything, it actually takes a lot of unconscious work that you're doing. You may be inspired by a couple of different things, and again, I don't want to say the stars align, but certain key metrics are put in place and they're achieved, and you come in at the right place at the right time, and boom, you have something novel, you have something original, something completely different, but still somewhat similar enough that it's not too radical. So, in saying that, maybe I might have to change my mind. The way that originality is portrayed now, yes, I think that it is absolutely 100% overrated to be original. That's not to say that you should just be a shameless clone of anybody else. Far from it. I think that's even worse. But the true concept of originality being almost this unconscious construction that happens behind the scenes that takes into account different experiences, different data points that you've collected. I think that that's very underrated. And people who are able to have a unconscious that can store all of that stuff, and then they're able to call on it and organize it and repackage it, remix it, put their own little flair onto it, tweak it, refine it. I think that's massively underrated. And I think that people also do tend to admire those who are able to do it successfully. So, let me know what you think. Do you think that originality is overrated? Should we just all be the same? Should we just all have our own, should we say, hang being original? It's all theft anyway. Nothing's original anymore. Let's just live our lives. Or do you think that it's a little bit more complex than that? Please let me know what your thoughts were in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching.